Have you ever felt a chill crawl up your spine in a place that just feels wrong? A place where the very walls seem to watch you, where the air hangs thick with unspoken secrets. Imagine such a place, not a decrepit old mansion on a lonely hill, but a grand hotel in the heart of a bustling city, a beacon of progress and modernity that masked a darkness so profound. It still stains the ground it once stood on. This is the story of that place and the architect of its horrors. Our story begins in the late 19th century, a time of great innovation and ambition. Chicago was preparing to host the magnificent 1893 World's Columbian Exposition, a spectacle that would draw millions from around the globe. Amidst the excitement and construction, a charismatic and handsome young doctor named Herman Webster Mudgett, better known as H.H. Holmes, arrived in the Inglewood neighborhood. He was the epitome of the Gilded Age gentleman, with a keen mind and a disarming smile that hid a soul as black as the industrial soot that choked the city's skies. Holmes was a man of many talents, a skilled pharmacist, a shrewd businessman, and a master manipulator. He quickly purchased a drugstore, and with his profits, an empty lot across the street. It was here that he began construction on a 3-story building, a project that would become his life's obsession and his eternal damnation. To the outside world, it was to be a hotel, perfectly positioned to accommodate the influx of tourists for the World's Fair. But Holmes had a far more sinister purpose in mind. The construction of the building was a spectacle of deceit in itself. Holmes hired and fired numerous construction crews, ensuring that no single group of workers would ever grasp the full, horrifying scope of his design. This constant turnover also allowed him to avoid paying many of his laborers and suppliers, a testament to his cunning and utter lack of morals. The building rose, brick by brick, a monument to his depravity, financed by fraud and deception. The first floor of the castle, as it would later be dubbed, housed a series of legitimate-looking shops, including Holmes's own pharmacy. This provided a veneer of normalcy, a respectable facade that lured the unsuspecting into his web. The upper floors, however, were a different story altogether. They were a labyrinth of his own twisted design, a place where the laws of architecture and morality were brutally discarded. Imagine a maze of over 100 rooms, many of them windowless and soundproofed, staircases that led to nowhere, doors that opened onto solid brick walls, and secret passages that allowed Holmes to move through the building like a phantom. This was not a hotel. It was a carefully engineered trap, designed for the sole purpose of luring, tormenting, and dispatching his victims without a trace. Many of the rooms were fitted with gas pipes, allowing Holmes to asphyxiate his guests from a control panel in his office. Trapdoors were concealed in the floors, leading to chutes that descended into the building's dark and cavernous basement. Some rooms were even lined with iron plates and asbestos, with scorch marks on the walls hinting at the unspeakable horrors that had taken place within. The basement was the heart of Holmes's dark kingdom, a place where his most gruesome work was carried out. Here he had installed a dissecting table, a crematorium disguised as an oil furnace, and vats of acid and quicklime. It was in this subterranean laboratory that he would dismember his victims, stripping their skeletons to be sold to medical schools, or dissolving their remains entirely. As the World's Fair opened its gates, a flood of visitors poured into Chicago, and Holmes's hotel was ready to receive them. He placed advertisements in newspapers, offering lodging and employment to young women who had come to the city seeking new opportunities and adventure. His charm and apparent wealth made him an irresistible figure to many, and they flocked to the castle, unaware that they were stepping into their tomb. Holmes's victims were not just tourists. They were his employees, his lovers, his business associates, anyone who served his purpose and then became an inconvenience. He had a habit of becoming engaged to women, only for them to mysteriously disappear. After he had secured their life savings, each new victim was another pawn in his deadly game, another soul to be consumed by the insatiable evil of the murder castle. One such victim was Julia Connor, the wife of a man who worked in Holmes's pharmacy. Holmes began an affair with Julia, and when her husband discovered the infidelity and left, Julia and her young daughter Pearl remained in the castle. They were never seen again. Holmes later claimed that Julia had died during a botched abortion he performed, a chilling confession that only scratched the surface of his depravity. Another was Emmeline Sigrand, a beautiful and intelligent woman whom Holmes hired as his personal secretary. He wooed her, proposed marriage, and then, like so many others, she vanished. Her family's desperate inquiries were met with Holmes's calculated lies and reassurances. The truth, however, was far more monstrous. Emmeline had become another casualty of the castle's hidden horrors. The Williams sisters, Minnie and Nanny, were two more of Holmes's victims. Minnie, a wealthy heiress, was lured into a relationship with Holmes, who then convinced her to transfer the deed to her Texas property to him. Soon after, both Minnie and her sister Nanny disappeared. Their fate remained a mystery for years, their names added to the ever-growing list of those who had been swallowed by the shadows of the murder castle. The true number of Holmes's victims may never be known. He confessed to 27 murders, but it is widely believed that the actual number is much higher, with some estimates reaching as high as 200. The transient nature of the World's Fair, coupled with the limitations of forensic science at the time, made it easy for people to simply disappear without a trace in the bustling metropolis of Chicago. For a time, it seemed that Holmes was untouchable, a phantom killer operating in plain sight. But his web of deceit and fraud began to unravel, not because of the murders, but due to his financial crimes. An insurance scam involving his accomplice, Benjamin Peitzel, went horribly wrong, leading to Peitzel's actual death at Holmes's hands. It was this act that would ultimately lead to his downfall. A determined Philadelphia detective named Frank Jair was assigned to the case, and his relentless investigation began to uncover the trail of death and deception that Holmes had left in his wake. Jair's journey took him across the country, piecing together the puzzle of Holmes's crimes one horrifying discovery at a time. Jair's investigation led him to Toronto, where he made a gruesome discovery. The bodies of two of Peitzel's children, Alice and Nellie, who had been entrusted to Holmes's care. He had murdered them in cold blood, their small bodies a testament to the depths of his evil. The body of a third Peitzel child, Howard, was later found in Indianapolis. The discovery of the children's remains sent a shockwave of horror across the nation and sealed Holmes's fate. With the net closing in, authorities in Chicago finally gained a warrant to search the infamous castle. What they found inside defied imagination. The secret passages, the gas chambers, the trapdoors, all the rumors that had circulated about the strange building were confirmed in the most terrifying way possible. The labyrinthine structure was a testament to a mind wholly dedicated to the art of murder. In the basement, the true horror of Holmes's operation was laid bare. Investigators found the dissecting table, the vats of acid, and the giant furnace littered with charred human remains, including the skeletons of small children. The tools of his gruesome trade were all there, a silent testament to the countless lives that had been extinguished within those blood-soaked walls. Holmes was arrested in Boston in 1894, not for the horrors of the castle, but for a horse swindle in Texas. However, the evidence against him for the Peitzel murders was overwhelming, and he was put on trial for his life. The trial was a media sensation, with newspapers across the country dubbing him the arch-fiend of the century. In the face of damning evidence, Holmes remained cool and collected, a master of deception to the very end. He even served as his own lawyer for a portion of the trial, presenting his defense with a chilling and calculated demeanor. But his charisma could not save him this time. He was found guilty of the murder of Benjamin Peitzel and sentenced to hang. While awaiting his execution, Holmes was paid by the Hearst newspapers to write a confession. In it, he admitted to 27 murders, though the veracity of his claims has always been debated. Some of the people he claimed to have killed were, in fact, still alive. It seemed that even in his final days, Holmes could not resist the urge to manipulate and deceive. On May 7, 1896, Herman Webster Mudgett, a.k.a. H.A. Holmes, was executed at Moyamensing Prison in Philadelphia. His neck did not snap instantly. Instead, he slowly strangled to death, a final, drawn-out end to a life defined by the suffering of others. Even in death, he remained an enigma, a man whose true motivations and the full extent of his crimes would forever be shrouded in mystery. Shortly after Holmes's arrest, the murder castle was gutted by a mysterious fire. Some say it was arson, an attempt to destroy the evidence of his crimes, or an act of vigilante justice by disgusted neighbors. The building remained standing, a charred and skeletal ruin, until it was finally torn down in 1938. But can a place so saturated with evil ever truly be cleansed? The land where the murder castle once stood is now occupied by the Inglewood branch of the U.S. Post Office, yet the stories persist. Postal workers and visitors have reported a strange and unsettling atmosphere in the building, particularly in the basement, which occupies the same space as Holmes's gruesome laboratory. People have spoken of hearing disembodied whispers and faint, mournful cries echoing through the empty halls at night. Shadowy figures are said to dart through the periphery of vision, and a pervasive sense of being watched is a common complaint. Cold spots and unexplained noises are frequent occurrences, a chilling reminder of the horrors that transpired on that very ground over a century ago. Some have even reported seeing the apparition of a woman in Victorian era clothing wandering the area. Her expression, one of terror and confusion. Could this be the ghost of one of Holmes's many victims, her spirit forever bound to the place of her demise? The tales are numerous and unsettling, passed down through generations of local residents. Even those who were connected to Holmes in life seemed to be touched by a lingering darkness. A number of individuals involved in his trial, including the jury foreman and the doctor who certified his death, died under strange and sudden circumstances. It was as if a curse had been unleashed, a final act of malevolence from beyond the grave. A former employee of Holmes, a man named Pat Quinlan, who many believed had been an accomplice in his crimes, was said to have been haunted by his past. He was plagued by insomnia and tormented by visions, eventually taking his own life. Some whispered that it was not guilt that drove him to his end, but the vengeful spirit of Holmes himself. The story of H.H. Holmes and his murder castle serves as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk behind a charming facade. It is a tale of ambition twisted into monstrous depravity, of a man who used the promise of a bright new future to lure his victims into a labyrinth of death. The white city of the World's Fair may have been a symbol of progress, but just a few miles away, a black heart was building a monument to despair. So the next time you find yourself in a place that feels inexplicably cold, where the silence seems to hum with an unspoken dread, remember the murder castle. remember that some places are forever marked by the evil they have witnessed, and some stories are so horrifying that their echoes can still be heard, whispering through the corridors of time. A final, chilling testament to the devil who once walked among us.